Hello Safari fans, welcome to Safari TV. Today we're going to be making Durban Bunny Chow. For today's recipe we're going to need some coriander seeds, a little bit of sea salt and black pepper, a couple of ghost chilies which are optional, a little bit of cayenne pepper, turmeric, some smoked paprika, some nutmeg and a bit of ground cumin. We're also going to need a little bit of fresh lemon juice, some green beans or other green vegetables, a tin of chopped tomatoes, some freshly chopped onions and peppers, some potatoes, and traditionally bunny chow is made with mutton. It can be vegetable as well. We're going to be using beef for this one though. Okay, the first thing to do is to dry toast in a frying pan our coriander seeds. That's just no oil or anything, just in a hot pan. And you just want to get them warm enough until the point where they just start popping. And keep them moving about so they don't burn. It's going to add a nice sort of toasty flavour. And obviously the coriander's got a little bit of a lemony taste to it as well. Okay, so they're just about ready. I'm just going to take them off and stick them in a pestle or a mortar, one of the two. Turn the heat off on the pan, but while you're doing that, just add the other spices. And the residual heat in the pan's just going to toast them slightly as well. Just give that a little swish about. You really don't want this pan too hot. Just start getting the spices going. Well, they're just toasting off gently. We're just going to crush up these coriander seeds, not too much, but you don't want too many hard bits of it. We're going to slow cook this one, so it's going to be, everything's going to have time to soften up, but if you don't have that sort of time, give them a decent sort of crush around. Next thing we're going to do is brown our meat off. Because we're slow cooking doesn't really caramelise stuff, so we're just going to get a nice little bit of colour around the edges of the meat. You don't have to do this in a slow cooker. I'll go into that a little bit later, but if you're not slow cooking, then obviously you're going to cook your meat a lot more than this. You can, if you're using it vegetarian wise, you can just chuck in a few sort of mixed beans and things like that and they'll go great with it. Right, in with the meat. Right, the meat's, remember we're not cooking the meat here, we're just browning it off. I'm just going to add a little bit of a spice mix in with the meat and then we'll add it to the slow cooker. Curries are a great way of getting sort of green vegetables or any vegetables that you don't like eating into a dish. So we're using green beans here. I'm just going to chop them up roughly, throw them in the pot. Next we're going to add a few potatoes. So you just want to chop up a little bit. They're going to add a little bit more body to the dish. They're also going to add a nice sort of starchy thickness to it as well. The exciting bit's how we serve it. Next we're going to add just a little squeeze of fresh lemon in there. We're going to add some peppers which we've chopped earlier. If you don't know how to chop a pepper, check out our how to chop a pepper video. We're going to add roughly about 1 to 1.5 onions depending on what size they are. Pop them in there. Now a lot of the liquid is going to come from chopped tomatoes, so we've got roughly about 4 large tomatoes chopped there with their juice. We're just going to add that over the top and let that soak through. If you're not using a slow cooker, you can just cook it in the pan, bring everything up to the boil, obviously cook the meat fully, add the spices in at that point, add your liquid ingredients in, bring it to the boil and then let it simmer for as long as you can really. On top of that goes our spice mix, and then just a little bit of water since we're doing this in the slow cooker again. Right, I've just given the ingredients a little bit of a stir. We're just going to add a couple of naga or ghost chilies. We're going to put them in whole though, on the top there, and stick the lid on. Then we let that cook for about 6 to 8 hours on a low heat, and it's going to be fantastic in a little while, so we'll see you then. So, It's been about 8 hours or so since we started cooking this. We left it on low, if you remember, just to let the flavours all meld together. The longer you can leave it, the better usually. So why bunny chow? Well, the name bunny chow has nothing to do with rabbits. There's a lot of stories about the origin of bunny chow. The name bunny may come from banyo, which is sort of an Indian caste of merchants. So far all you've seen us do is make some curry. What's so special about that? I can hear you asking. Well, of course it's got our secret herbs and spices in it. But the thing with bunny chow is it's a nice African street food. Well, it is really. It's one of the originals, one of the traditionals. What it is half a loaf, or as much of a loaf as you want to have. You pull the inside of the bread out here, and what that leaves you with is a nice handy little bowl to put your curry in. Perfect. There's a lot of Indian influence in the African spice palette, especially around sort of the east coast. It's on the Indian Ocean. There's a lot of traders over there, so the spices that are used in African cooking, or certainly a lot of them, are similar to what you would find in India. So what you want to do is get the end of your bread loaf, chop that off, empty it out. If you have a middle section, bread doesn't last too long in this house, so that's why I've pre-prepared this stuff. If you've got a bit of bread that's got bread on either side, that's what's known as a funny bunny. And do you want to be eating funny bunnies? I don't know. So we're going to empty out our other little loaf here. There's no special technique to this, you just get your hands in. The next thing to do is open up our safari curry, or bunny. It's called bunny chow, you can't just call it bunny. As you can maybe see, all the peppers and the onions that we've put in have nicely caramelized. That's what's adding that rich brown flavour to it, or brown colour should I say. It's not quite as thick as you would maybe have a normal curry, but remember we haven't added any butter, we haven't added any cream to this, or flour. We've added nothing to thicken it up, so purely the thickness comes from the ingredients that we've put in, the potatoes and things. Alright, so let's get this served. You want to add, well, as much as you want to eat really. This recipe that we've given you here will probably serve, depends on how big your bread is, maybe 4 to 6 people. You might want to add a little bit more meat, or again, for the veggie option, add a little bit of beans, or why not add a little bit of meat and beans to it. The other thing you can do if you don't want to be cooking meat, especially if you're going to make it in the pan, is, you know, like supermarket rotisserie chicken sort of stuff, the pre-roasted chicken, you can just throw that in. It goes great with it as well. Make sure you get plenty of that sauce in there, and don't worry too much about the drips. So the point of bunny chow is that you usually eat it with your hands. It's not a fancy gourmet dish or anything like that. It's a lovely sort of decent wholesome bit of cooking. You've got your bread bowl there. You dip the bits of bread that you pulled out beforehand, you dip them in the sauce, you eat them, then you start eating the bowl around the curry as well. You could use a spoon, a knife and fork if you really had to, but only if you really had to. You can of course make smaller versions of these with bread rolls. Just take out the top of the bread roll, dump it in, that makes an ideal party food. We've decorated this, what do you call it, garnished? Yeah. Right. We haven't garnished, we've added a little bit of coriander on top of here. If you're not a fan of coriander, I know some people aren't, a little bit of flat leaf parsley goes great. Flat leaf parsley is great because it's got loads of vitamins and minerals in it that you don't usually get. So let's get stuck in. You can subscribe to our channel if you want. If you've got any ideas or comments, chuck them in the comments below. If there's anything you want to see us do, like this and share it to support the channel, the usual sort of stuff. Another easy alternative, this isn't a hard sell by the way, it's not what's very good, but a little bit of Zulu Susu sauce in it goes great as well. It's available from our website. You know, our sauces are nice. We're not trying to sell them, but you know, if you want to check them out, whatever. So that's it for Durban Bunny Chow. We've got plenty of other videos coming up which aren't all recipes. We've got news, festival reviews coming up soon as well.